Well, it's no secret that Earl Spence was making his way to the fight to call out the winner because he announced it on social media. And Terence Crawford said he was going to activate his mandatory status with the WBO. So, although we're not seeing the rematch between Earl Spence and Terence Crawford in the ring, we're seeing it in terms of opponent hunting. Now, of course, as we pointed out before, this is a sport of boxing where people want high risk and a lower reward. So you want to get the maximum risk. You want to get the maximum reward while taking the lowest risk. So in this case, if you're the winner of Sebastian Fundora versus Tim Tszyu, which in this case was Sebastian Fundora, you're looking at Earl Spence as like, yeah, that's a fight I like. I feel like I can beat him. You just watch Bud Crawford, destroy him. And if they say, who would you rather fight out of these two? Obviously, you're going to want to fight Earl Spence, right? So again, there's always the possibility that Earl may get the shot over Bud. That Earl may get the shot over Bud, yeah, because of the fact that people see him as the easier fight. But they're both looking to establish themselves at 154 now. And I'm not mad at it. I still think there's a possibility that we'll see the Earl Spence Terence Crawford rematch at 154. But I do think that Earl needs to build himself back up. Because I think if they went to immediate rematch, he got dominated so badly that you can't convince the public that he would be competitive against Bud Crawford again. So maybe if he goes and he gets some high quality wins, he can show that he's still a force or that he's rededicated himself to boxing, and then perhaps you can get that fight again. But in the meantime, they're both title hunting at 154, and the winner, Sebastian Fundora, seems to be the guy that they want now. You saw Earl Spence get in the ring, and in fact, Earl Spence made an early prediction of what would happen if he stepped in the ring with Fundora. Let's take a look at what Earl Spence predicts if he gets into the ring with Fundora. Now you see right here, he's pulling some things. That's my fan asking the question.
EJ, what happens to Fundora when he faces you? Oh!
Earl said he's getting put to sleep. He said he's knocking Fundora out. So they worded the question is what happens when he fights you. So like the fight's a done deal. I'm not necessarily sure. Bud Crawford responded and said, like, Earl, you got to get in line. You got to wait your turn. I already took care of business, which you got to wait your turn. But what really matters is Sebastian Fundora and his team. And Sebastian Fundora expressed who he'd like to fight next. So let's listen to what Sebastian Fundora had to say.
My question to you is, the WBO orders to fight Crawford next 4 years. Under any circumstances, will you vacate the WBO to fight Crawford?
Whatever they get, First Spence is a great opportunity. I think it's a match made in heaven. But Terence Crawford is the best fighter in the world. I would like to fight.
So you heard what Sebastian Fundora said. He said he would fight whoever they give him. So one, that tells you he's going to fight who his promoter, who his managers say is the best option. But he does say that he would love to fight Terence Bud Crawford because he thinks he's the best fighter in the world. So there's the competitor in him who would love to have the opportunity to share the ring with the best pound for pound fighter in the world. And then there's the part of him who understands the business aspect of boxing. If you look at the fact that Sebastian Fundora is with PBC, Earl Spence has been with PBC most of his career. And of course, there's that legendary battle about across the street between Bud Crawford and Earl Spence that prevented us from getting this fight, that fight for 5 years. You got to look at it and say Earl Spence would probably be the opponent that PBC is going to push. Earl Spence would probably be the opponent that his promoter and his manager would push. And it's probably the opponent where he can probably win and keep the belts as well. I think most people feel like if he steps in the ring with Bud Crawford, he's going to get beat. And I think he's even stated that he thinks Earl Spence is a good matchup for him. So if we're being realistic, I think that Earl Spence would be next for him. Because if you want to talk about being a champion and keeping the belt and doing what's best for business, I think Earl Spence is best for business. Because if he fights Bud Crawford, I think that you lose to Bud. Only thing you're doing is you're passing him the belts. And can we guarantee that the payday is going to be better than the payday, or significantly better than the payday you get with Earl? Or you can fight Earl if you beat Earl, and that's a payday, that's a massive win under your belt, and then you can take the risk of fighting Crawford. So in the end, it wouldn't surprise me if Sebastian Fundora vacates the WBO. Crawford probably gets an email to him the way they're doing the belts these days. They email the belt to Crawford, and Crawford Zoo probably, and still would be big money fight. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. I think at the end of the day, they're going to play this out to see, and that's why I don't think even Team Zoo is pushing so hard for the rematch, because they're thinking, okay, if Fundora doesn't agree to fight Bud Crawford and the WBO strips Fundora, then Crawford is elevated to champion, or would he have to fight Zoo for the vacant belt, right? So imagine Crawford Zoo for the vacant belt, or if they email the belt to Bud Crawford and Bud Crawford just fights Zoo. It's a mega fight. Then you got Earl Spence and Sebastian Fundora. That's another really big, great fight. And then the winner of those fights go on to fight each other. So there's already a triangle theory in here with Brian Mendoza. So it kind of really shows that triangle theories don't really work out all the time in the ring for whatever reason. So I'm not mad at it. I think there are big fights to be made. I still think, though, Zoo should be trying to get that rematch to avenge his loss, because I think he can wipe the slate clean if he does get it. But overall, when it comes to Sebastian Fundora, I truly think that Spence is going to be next. I think they already had Spence ringside. He already walked in the ring. I think they're going to sidestep Crawford. That's just my prediction. And if I'm wrong, then I'll be happy, and I'll salute Sebastian Fundora for taking on Terence Bud Crawford, because I think that's an extreme risk. Bud Crawford is dangerous. We already know that. So I would respect him a lot if he takes that fight. But my prediction is, if Zoo doesn't activate the rematch clause and doesn't fight for his rematch, I think we're going to see Sebastian Fundora versus Earl Spence next. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section. What is your prediction? Who do you think Sebastian Fundora should fight next? And please check out the next video. Peace.